I wasn't always the same patriotic young man that I am today. I would say I became more patriotic when they tried to lock us inside of the houses and told us that we needed to all take vaccines. That's when I became patriotic. Before that, to be quite frank with you, I could care less about America and I actually wanted it to burn. But then I realized I have the power to say fuck you and fight back against tyrants. And that's the best part about America. If you don't like it, you can fight back. Iran, you get your head cut off if you protest. Germany, you might lose your job if you say the Holocaust never happened. Over here, I can say Jews need to burn, and not saying that that's how I feel, but I can say whatever I want and I'm safe. Slow clap for America. I don't have a soundboard yet, so I can't do a slow clap. Hands are full. I got a mic. I got some smoke in the other hand. But I said all that to say there are some people that think we should not be allowed to do things like this. And when it comes down to those people, we say fuck them. We eat French fries for breakfast, pizza for lunch. It's on our period. It's on our table. I think pizza's on the periodic table over here. We get monster trucks, 50-inch tires. 50. 50. 50 on the low end. Probably 150-inch. Hold on. Hold on. Y'all got us fucked up. Hold on. How big are monster truck tires? 66 inches and 43 inches wide. Bitch, we riding on 66s. We riding on 66s out here. 60 fucking sixes. So when it come down to somebody telling us that we can't do something, what are we going to do? We're going to fight. And this is the reason why I'm probably going to end up in tears by the end of this video. I haven't finished it yet. But this always gets to me because you always wonder what would you have done if you were inside of this situation. Today we are looking at the United Flight 93. They say this is the most detailed account of United Flight 93 ever made. So if it has any more detail than the other stuff that I know about Flight 93, we might be crying. It's all right. Catch it on film. Everything's content. As always, I am going to be smoking. So if you are a kid, do not be influenced by me. I'm a loser. You see my hair? I like my name's George Stephanopoulos. Don't be like me, children.
This is the Legacy Times, bringing you information on history, politics, economics, finance, and international policy. This video will be focused on...
Shout out to Legacy Times for giving us this video. This dude's voice is a little too optimistic for me, but we got to do with what we got.
Darkest days in American history. September 11th.
Why is your voice so bright then if this is the darkest day in American history? We need to start doing voice counseling to these niggas. That's the reason I'm here right now. That's the reason I'm up after work, sitting here recording a video reaction to something. Because I heard this and it sounded like a Target ad. It sounded like a Target ad and we talking about 90. This is 9/11. Why does he sound so cheerful?
2001. Specifically, I will be focusing on one event during the 9/11 attacks that is rarely acknowledged by the general public or media. The story of United...
Also, trigger warning. All my Muslim friends, or not friends, or people that I don't know that are Muslim. I might say some ignorant things. Ignorant means not knowing. I might say some things where it sounds like I'm a complete idiot. It's not meant to disrespect. And if I do say some racist shit, and this the hardest part about me, if I do say some racist shit about a certain person, it only pertains to that person. It don't pertain to the whole race. I'm technically not racist. I'm youist. I don't like you. So for these 4 hijackers, I don't like them. So I gotta pick stuff to talk about. And I'm telling you right off the bat, the first thing I'm talking about is these people's names. You gotta hear this shit. How do you let these people even on a
Flight 93. I will provide a detailed timeline of the events of United Flight 93. And if you enjoy this video, please click the like button and subscribe. Now, let's get started.
we should have been started.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, millions of Americans living on the eastern seaboard wake up to a cloudless, bright blue September sky.
That is perfect flying weather. That's perfect. They picked the right day. They picked the right day. You can't run into nothing on accident. You're not going to hit the Statue of Liberty on accident. There are no clouds in the sky. Not a single cloud. That goes into why I think the government controls the weather. Because if you think this was a hoax, it would make perfect sense that if they want the cameras to be able to record the freaking plane crashing into the building better, they would say the clouds shouldn't be out. But that's a whole nother.
Ready to begin their day. At 6:48 a.m., four young Arab men, clean-shaven and dressed in business clothes, check out of their Marriott and Days Inn airport.
Let's not call them Arab men. Let's not call them four Arab men. Let's call them four BANs. Bitch ass niggas. Four bitch ass niggas decided to wake up in the morning. See, that's why I be telling bitch ass niggas, you should have just in your sleep, bro. You should have just, because when you wake up as a BAN, and I can't keep saying that, they gonna flag me and say I'm only for people that's older than 60 and people that's if you wake up as a BAN, you might end up doing some stupid stuff like flying a plane into a tower. You BANs wake up and just ruin stuff left and right. The nigga who did Fukushima, that was a BAN. He woke up that morning. That's a totally different story. Just understand, if you a lame, just in your sleep, I hope all lames got sleep apnea and don't got a CPAP machine. And one day they just in they sleep. Because when BANs, you know what I'm saying? When they're awake and conscious, they take out other people. You hear me? Like a BAN be driving and end up taking out a whole family because he's just a BAN. Just a drunk little BAN just hit somebody. Now he didn't kill a dog, a 3-year-old, a 13-year-old, the dad, a auntie. She wasn't even supposed to be in the car. She inside of the car with the 3-year-old because the 3-year-old don't like to ride without the auntie because somehow they didn't develop some type of bond over the vacation. They only met each other once. Now her and the auntie gone. Come on, bro. BANs just need to just decease or cease to live, or how you say it politically correct for YouTube. They should just die in their sleep. Let's just say it like that. We're not getting monetized no way. I'm smoking weed. All BANs, if you listen to this, you're a BAN, this somehow ended up on your algorithm, I need you to do me a favor. Benadryl, 9 of them. Either way.
Hotel rooms
We only
and
a
make
minute
their
in.
way to Newark International Airport. From 7:03 a.m. to 7:24 a.m., Ziad Jarrah, Ahmed Al-Haznawi, Ahmed
Hold on,
Al-Nami,
bro.
and
Ahmed Al-Namnami. Ahmed Ibrahimi Al-Anzami. I'm fucking up. No, bro. I'll beat the shit out of that nigga. At least Ahmed Al-Nami. Ahmed Al-Nami look like a sober peso pluma. I hit him in his jaw. It'll mess up everything. You see how it's kind of leaned over already. Look at it, bro. Look at his jaw. It's already wobbly. I would have took him out. And this is what I'm saying. This is why we cannot get on here and watch these videos and try to put ourselves inside of these hijacked people's shoes. Because it's not fair to them that I'm sitting back here with 2020 hindsight and I know this dude's name is Ahmed Al-Nami. I'm pretty sure if his name, he had a name tag on his thing when he was doing the thing, they would have beat his ass, bro. Ahmed Al-Nami. Okay, cool. Maybe I'm scared of Ahmed. Where's your homie? What's his name? Ahmed Ibrahim Sami. What the fuck is going on? No, bro. There is no fucking way I'm getting beat up by 4 people with the same name. Ain't no way.
Saeed Al Ghamdi arrive at Newark International Airport.
Syed, I'm that Gandhi. We are fighting this bitch. On the dead homies. Hey, bitch, this plane's not going down this.
Ahmed Al-Anami checks in 2 bags at the United Airlines counter, and Ahmed Al-Haznawi checks in 1 bag. Al-Haznawi is the only hijacker whose luggage is selected for extra screening for explosives by Newark Airport.
Al-Haznawi. See, they did right. Al-Haznawi look like he take pussy. I'm not gonna lie to you. Al-Haznawi look like he take, like he. Al-Haznawi, he should never been allowed in the States. He looks like a sexual predator. Look at the mustache. Why he got so much glee in his eyes? Why are you so happy? What's the other word for happy, y'all? Don't make me. What's the other word for happy, y'all? What does gay mean? What are you talking about, bro? Why he got so much happy in his face? Hold on. Gay. Lighthearted and carefree. Why he look lighthearted and carefree with a mustache? There's 2 things that can't be freaking combined. A lighthearted, carefree person with a Ron Jeremy mustache. He a porn star, bro. We should never let him in.
As a precaution, his bag is held off the plane until he boards. All 4 men pass through Newark Airport security without incident,
Zayed
carrying
Samir
razor blades,
Al-Jahara.
knives, and materials to construct a makeshift bomb.
This just pisses me off, man.
Compared to the 3 other aircrafts that will be hijacked, United Flight 93 has a 4-man crew as opposed to 5 men. The 4 hijackers are between the ages of 20 to 26 years old and legally in the United States.
20 to 26 years old. How much you want to bet this Syed Al-Ghamdi dude is 20 years old? Al-Ghamdi. Yeah, there he is. How old was he? He was 21 years old. He was 21 years old when he did this. Most people, when they 21 years old, they on Tinder swiping. At 21 years old, and this is why I'm a firm believer of prostitution should be legalized. You should be out there getting some cheeks, bro. You should be out there serenading some young lady, trying to get somebody pregnant, trying to have a little daughter or a boy. You over here in the middle of Florida trying to crash a plane into New York. You got too much time on your hands, bro. I got a girl inside the living room right now. I'm trying to get rid of her. Somebody send me some, actually, get rid of her for free. Because if you sell a woman in these atmospheres, you're going to get Jeffrey Epstein client listed. Do not AI photo my face on none of them. With the blurred out girl, oh my God. That's detrimental. I don't have any money to come back from that. Yeah, anyways, I'm letting her go for free then. Fuck it. But yeah, bro, you gotta find something to do, bro. He would have been what? September 11th happened in 2021 or 2001. He was 21. It's been 25 more years after. Then he would have been 46, bro. He would have had a little, you feel me, a little Al-Ghamdi just running around, bro. And you know he would have gave him the same name as the other niggas. What's the other nigga name? His name would have been Ahmed Al-Amnami, Ibrahimi Al-Hanzami, Syed Samir Al-Jahari, Syed Al-Ghamdi. His name would have been long as a bitch. But they would have all been alive. You out here fucking around with these pretty boy Floyd ass niggas flying planes in the buildings and shit at 21. Young,
Ahmed
dumb, and full of cum.
Saeed
Let it out.
Al-Ghamdi, and Ahmed Al-Haznawi are citizens.
Jack off. Y'all need to jack off. Never mind, bro. Grab the thing and twist it. You niggas just flying planes into stuff, bro. Just jack off, bro. Jack. Beat it. Please. please, bro, just beat it. If you gotta pause the video, bro, if you gotta pause the video right now, don't beat it to me. Pause the video. Go to your room. Leave whatever you're watching me on. Don't close it. You should have to reopen the window. You shouldn't be able to hear me. YouTube Premium people out there. You close it and you go to the point and you can still hear me in the background. Technically, you're beating it to me. I don't mind. But that's kind of gay. I'm not even going to say nothing else, bro. We talking about them for being gay. Y'all just going to be gay back? Come on, bro. That's two wrongs don't make a right.
Saudi Arabia, and Ziad Jarrah is a citizen of Lebanon.
We 2 minutes in. We
The
got
9/11 Commission report speculates that Al-Qaeda is missing a fifth member on Flight 93. Mohammed Al-Qahtani or Zachariah Massawi.
Bro, they're not trying to let us get through. Who the fuck is this? Is who Al-Qaeda got? First off, they wasn't letting the nigga off on the right. The nigga on the right, they're not letting him on the plane, B. Even if he wasn't a terrorist, I know 3 niggas like that. They've never been on a plane and they've tried to be on a plane. Them niggas is not allowed. They're not allowed. No bald nigga with a squint and a gold tee. Nah, bro. Nah, bro. And then this dude, he looked mentally challenged. They grabbed him out the thing.
Or the intended fifth hijackers for United Flight 93. Mohammed Al-Qahtani was denied entrance into the United States
as he
at
should.
Orlando International Airport 1 month earlier by a suspicious immigration official. Al-Qahtani would be arrested by American forces at the Battle of Tora Bora in December of 2001 and spend 20 years in American custody.
Battle of Tora Bora. Never heard of it. Let's look it up. Battle of Tora Bora. 2001. Military that took place in the cave complex of Tora Bora in Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda and bin Laden were suspected of being responsible for September 11th attacks 3 months prior. Tora Bora Pashto Black Cave is located in Sfingar or Safedko, sometimes Selseleyi Safedko. It is a mountain range in the South Hindu Kush. It ranges from eastern Afghanistan to the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Pakistan and forms a natural border between the two countries. Its highest peak is Mount Silkaram. U.S. stated that Al-Qaeda. That's nice. It's pretty cool they all decided to work together. Either way.
At Guantanamo Bay before being sent back to a mental health facility in Saudi Arabia in March of 2022. Zachariah Massawi, a French national, is arrested in Eagan, Minnesota weeks before September 11th by arousing suspicion when taking flight courses. Massawi stated that he only wanted to learn to fly an airplane and not how to land or take off. Massawi would be convicted and found guilty of being a member of Al-Qaeda and conspiring. Is arrested in Eagan, Minnesota weeks before September 11th by arousing suspicion when taking flight courses. Massawi stated that he only wanted to learn to fly an airplane and not how to land or take off. Massawi would...
Slow clap for law enforcement, bro. Law enforcement get the dub on this one. That was an easy one. I'm happy they got this one. At least y'all got this one. Y'all missed the box cutters. You let a nigga in with 17 names. Cool, that's fine. All of that. I didn't want to just give it to you. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to just act like it never happened. But right now I'm going to have to act like that didn't happen because you caught this one. You caught this one. This one right here was brazen. This nigga said, I just want to know how to fly. I don't want to even know how to land. I don't want to know how to land. These are the people we're fighting against. These are the people we're fighting against. These are the people we're fighting against, guys. People that'll go to an air school and say they don't want to know how to land the plane. They just want to know how to fly it, and they think they can get away with that. These are the people that we're fighting against. This isn't principalities. This isn't nothing. This is the best of them right there. This dude right here. This is their MVP. This is their first ballot Hall of Famer. This guy right here. Does he count as a first ballot Hall of Famer since he didn't even get the plane? No, probably, bro. He's probably a reject. This is probably one of the rejects. Let me chill, bro. This probably somebody they just sent off. You feel me? He probably was never supposed to. But if he was at the pilot school, whatever.
Convicted and found guilty of being a member of Al-Qaeda and conspiring to kill Americans as part of the 9/11 attacks. As of 2006, Moussaoui is serving a life sentence at ADX Supermax Prison in Florence, Colorado, known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. Due to being one man short, it is critical for Al-Qaeda that Ziad Jarrah passed through airport security without incident. Of the 4 hijackers, Ziad Jarrah is the only one who knows how to fly an aircraft and speaks English fluently. Born in Beirut, Lebanon to a wealthy, secular, liberal family, Jarrah went to Catholic school his entire life and was known to frequent discos with friends, drink alcohol, drive his girlfriends around in his father's Mercedes, and was considered outgoing and friendly by his peers in both Lebanon and America. Compared to the other hijackers, Ziad Jarrah made friends in America and kept in contact with his family. He was engaged to be married to a beautiful Turkish dental student by the name of Aysel Senguin. On the morning of September 11th, Jarrah calls his fiancée Aysel in Germany one last time to tell her he loves her. Weeks later, the FBI would intercept and seize a letter that Ziad Jarrah sent Aysel before September 11th, which U.S. counterterrorism officials believe was a suicide letter and justification for his actions. Aside from his call to his fiancée Aysel, Ziad Jarrah makes several calls on the morning of September 11th. He places 5 calls to his home country of Lebanon, 1 call to France, and 1 final call to Al-Qaeda terrorist Marwan al-Shehi, the pilot hijacker of United Airlines Flight 175, which will hit the South Tower of the World Trade Center. It is unknown what both men discussed during the call, but counterterrorism officials...
Everybody. Eddie. I'm about to fly my shit into the plane. And I'm not doing an accent because that's how I think all of y'all talk. I'm doing an accent because this is literally how the cashier at the 7-Eleven looks. This is literally... Don't make me go take a video of this, man, and bring it to y'all. I'm not about to go here with you people. Why do I need to lie? Today I told somebody to give me $50. They gave it to me, and I said I was going to give it back to him at 10 o'clock on the dot, and I gave it back to him at 10 o'clock on the dot. So you think I'm going to sit up here and lie to you about this dude looking like the dude from the 7-Eleven up the street? Come on, bro. I never lie to y'all. It's on my heart.
Believe that both men were saying goodbye and or the assault on America is on. At 7:30 a.m., the passengers of United Flight 93 would begin to board their flight. At 7:39 a.m., Ahmed al-Haznawi and Saeed al-Ghamdi board the aircraft and sit in 6B and 3D respectively. At 7:40 a.m., Ahmed al-Anami would board the flight, and he would sit in first class in seat 3C. At 7:48 a.m., Ziad Jarrah would be the last of the 4 hijackers to board the plane. He sits in seat 1B. Jarrah will sit right next to the cockpit door, which will make it easy for him to slip into the cockpit once the hijacking starts. At least one of the hijackers is carrying a document entitled The Last Night, an instruction sheet for the hijackers to steel themselves and brace for martyrdom. Embrace the will to die and renew allegiance. Shave the extra body hair and wear cologne. Pray, familiarize yourself with the plan well from every aspect, and anticipate the reaction and resistance from the enemy, reads the first passage. These instructions are most likely followed in silence because Al Qaeda instructs the hijackers to blend in and avoid raising suspicion while they wait to depart. At least 10 of the passengers and crew on Flight 93 had planned to take later or earlier flights or found themselves on Flight 93 due to schedule changes. One of these passengers, passenger Lauren Grancolis, calls her husband in San Rafael, California, and leaves a voicemail saying she will arrive home an hour earlier than expected. She had been scheduled for United Airlines Flight 91, but her car service arrived at the airport early, allowing her to take Flight 93 instead. United Airlines Flight 93 was scheduled to take off at 8 a.m. Eastern Time from gate A17 en route to San Francisco, California at Newark International Airport. However, due to being one of New York City's 3 major airports, heavy air traffic was very common and United Flight 93 was delayed 42 minutes. Unknowingly, this 42-minute delay would be crucial for the passengers of Flight 93 and alter history. At 8:42 a.m., United Airlines Flight 93 takes off after a 42-minute delay. Some passengers on board Flight 93 have a view of Manhattan's skyline due to Newark being across the Hudson River from Lower Manhattan. The passengers would have seen the twin towers of the World Trade Center in its final moments before destruction. 4 minutes after Flight 93 takes off from Newark International Airport, American Airlines Flight 11, under the control of 5 Al Qaeda terrorists, would crash into the North Tower of the World Trade Center at 8:46 a.m. United Airlines Flight 93 carried a total of 37 passengers, including the 4 hijackers and a crew of 7. Captain Jason Dahl and First Officer Leroy Homer led the crew of United Flight 93. This 5-year-old Boeing 757 jet could carry up to 182 passengers, but was flying at only 22% of its maximum capacity. Al Qaeda purposely chose a day with lower passenger volume to ensure less interference and resistance from the passengers and crew. At 9:24,
Usually people like this be cowards, bro. And it's sad to say. I mean, it's not even sad to say, it's just the truth. Usually people that do stuff like this is a coward, bro. So you can't really expect them to like give people a fair shake at like life. You feel me? You can't expect them to like give people a fair shake to defend themselves. You can't expect them to give you a fair shake, period. They're going to get you while you're weak, and then they're going to extort and go from there. And this is a prime evidence of it.
a.m., 42 minutes into the flight, United Airlines dispatcher Ed Bollinger sends a text message to Captain Jason Dahl to beware of any cockpit intrusions. 2 aircraft hit World Trade Center. At 9:26 a.m., Captain Jason Dahl reads the message from dispatcher Ed Bollinger. Confused, Captain Dahl writes back, "Ed, confirm latest message, please. Jason." This will be the final communication the United Airlines dispatch team will receive from either Captain Jason Dahl or First Officer Leroy Homer.
You gotta remember these names, man. Leroy Homer, Jason Dahl, man. You gotta remember these names. Even if they ain't, you feel me? Somebody, you know what I'm saying, bro? These is lives lost to, even if it's a conspiracy. Now, let's say they didn't die. Maybe that's a totally different subject. But personally, in my heart, from where I feel, from where I'm standing, even if they didn't die, I wouldn't I wouldn't want this story to be fake and the people across the seas think it's real and they think we was just like, oh yeah, it's cool, bro. It's cool, bro. Like we're just gonna let it. No, it's not that, bro. It's not that. And I'll do one step further. The people have been preparing. We've been preparing in close quarter combat for things like this because we don't want to go out like our martyrs went out. I mean, I could call them martyrs, but I don't think they like felt like this was a holy thing that they was dying for. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's just like you just gotta remember them names, man. Jason Dahl, Leroy Homer. I think that was his name, Leroy Homer.
Jason Dahl or First Officer Leroy Homer.
Leroy Homer, Jason Dahl.
At 9:28 a.m., flying over eastern Ohio, the 4 Al-Qaeda terrorists aboard United Flight 93 make their move. The hijackers tie red bandanas around their heads and fatally stab a passenger and begin moving all the passengers and flight crew to the back of the aircraft. Out of the 6 passengers seated in first class on Flight 93, only one did not make a phone call to his family after the plane was hijacked. Being seated in seat 5B, passenger Mickey Rottenberg is sitting right in front of Ahmed Al-Haznawi, who murdered Mickey Rottenberg in front of bandana airline's dispatch team over eastern Ohio. At 9:28 a.m., flying over eastern Ohio, the 4 Al-Qaeda terrorists aboard United Flight 93 make their move. The hijackers tie red bandanas around their heads and fatally stab a passenger and begin moving all the passengers and flight crew to the back of the aircraft. Out of the 6 passengers seated in first class on Flight 93, only one did not make a phone call to his family after the plane was hijacked. Being seated in seat 5B, passenger Mickey Rottenberg is sitting right in front of Ahmed Al-Haznawi, who murdered Mickey Rottenberg in front of everyone when the assault began. The cockpit of United Flight 93 is breached, and a struggle can be heard by Cleveland Air Traffic Control.
Bro, this why you gotta. This why I go to the gym, bro, every day, or at least attempt to go every single day, bro. Because when it come down to it, bro, you not gonna have a gun in the most dangerous times of your life, bro. These people rushed inside of a 3x3 room with a chair with chairs on the inside of it. There's no room, bro. You is close. It's close quartered. You're you feel me? He coming with a knife. You gotta be ready to get stabbed in the neck, bro. Bitch. I'm telling you, bro, you gotta really be ready. Are you ready? Are you ready? Or are you ready? Or are you gonna listen to this story and you get on your plane and then somebody try to take your plane and then you just gotta go down? Are you ever gonna be ready? Are you gonna be ready? Simple boxing drill you can do. Time up the, you feel me, with your feet. It's good for cardio and it's helped to get your hand-eye coordination down. It's something I'm trying to work with. At first, I never knew how to fight. I'm not gonna lie. Then I started wrestling, got decent at that, got a little bit stronger, so now I could take bigger people down, but my hands still wasn't it. I'm starting to work on my hands, because sometimes strength ain't enough, bro. These people, you ain't got no gun in the middle of a plane, bro. Like, what are you gonna do, bro? And then it's the thing also, you gotta be ready to die. There's a lot of people out there that's not ready to die. You gotta be ready to die. You see that bomb strapped on somebody, you have to be ready to die. You gotta be ready to put everything down, put it all behind you, and sacrifice your life for the greater good. You need to be ready in situations like this. As Americans, we need to be ready in situations like this because people do not like the fact that I can tell somebody that their religion sucks and just go home after. People do not like that. I don't do it, but like people don't like the fact that other people can. When people see things that other people have that they don't like that they have, they try to either take the thing from them or they try to take the person's ability to enjoy those things, which are called rights. Can't let them take your rights.
Due to the warning from the United Airlines dispatcher 4 minutes earlier, it is very likely that Captain Dahl and First Officer Homer keyed the radio transmission so the struggle and mayday call could be heard by air traffic control, not just as a cry for help, but as a warning to other airplanes. When the terrorists stormed the cockpit of United Flight 93, it loses 685 feet of altitude almost immediately before pilot hijacker Ziad Jarrah stabilizes the aircraft. It is unknown which of the hijackers stormed the cockpit door, but audio forensic technology not available in 2001 could give us a major clue. Originally, the 9/11 Commission report determined that all 4 hijackers rushed the cockpit simultaneously, but audio forensics determined that 4 people in total were present in the cockpit during the hijacking. The 2 terrorists believed to have fatally stabbed Captain Jason Dahl and First Officer Leroy Homer are Saeed Al-Ghamdi and Ahmed Al-Anami due to their seating proximity in seats 3D and 3C, and both men are trained by Al-Qaeda in unarmed combat. At 9:30 a.m.
You see what I'm saying? What y'all trained in? Is y'all trained in unarmed combat by Al Qaeda? No. So if you're not trained by Al Qaeda in one armed combat, then what is you doing sitting over here not being trained in anything at all? We're gearing ourselves up for failure here. If everybody got prepared, we would never get caught lacking. Never. We would never get caught lacking. Ever. If that was a team, let's say that was, bro, I'm not even trying to just, you know, be like that. Let's say it was just Iowa's wrestling team on that plane. Let's say it was Iowa's wrestling team on that plane and they tried to get jiggy with them knives. Do you understand how unsuccessful that thing would have been? Do you understand how it's all about how prepared you are as a group, a community? Whatever, bro. I'm not even gonna get into it. I'm about to start getting too spirited.
Passenger Tom Burnett, who was originally in seat 4B in first class, calls his wife Dina to tell her that he's on United Flight 93 and his plane has been hijacked. Burnett mentions that one of the other passengers, believed to be Mickey Rottenberg, was stabbed. He tried to help Rottenberg, but there was too much blood and he did not have a pulse. At 9:32 a.m., with Ziad Jarrah and his 3 lieutenants now in full control of United Flight 93, Jarrah sends out a chilling threat. Due to his
Bro, we have a bomb on board, so sit. Who the fuck you think you talking to, Ziad Jarrah? Who do you think you talking to? Who? I would have had to been the first person they stabbed. I would have had to been the first person they stabbed. Cause I'm gonna play it cool. They gonna stab the one dude. They gonna be like, everybody get to the back. Everybody get to the back. I'm on dirt on the deck. I don't even know how I would do it, and that's why this is bothering me so much. I don't even know. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to play. I don't know, bro. I don't know, but I feel like there should have been more. There should have been more to save these people's lives. These dudes not big, bro. We could have beat them, bro. We could have beat them. Beat. And the thing is I understand. They say, oh, it's a fake bomb. He had a fake bomb on him and all of this other stuff. They were scared what was going to happen. You really think they finna land the plane? You really think they finna land the plane? And I mean, I guess if you glass half full, glass half full. I'm glass half empty. If Zayed Jarrah get on the intercom and be like, "Yo, I need everybody to shut up. I got a bomb on this. I'm belligerent. You gonna have to stab me 100 times. They would. I would. And I'm not even a fighter, bro. I'm not really even a fighter. But when it come down to it, when it's time for you to almost lose your life, stuff changes.
Piloting experience and knowledge, Jarrah's message is not transmitted to the passengers on board, but to air traffic control agents on the ground. Ziad Jarrah turns Flight 93 180 degrees over eastern Ohio towards Washington, D.C. At 9:35 a.m., flight attendant Sandy Bradshaw dials the United Airlines maintenance facility in San Francisco from the airphone in row 33 to report the hijacking. The manager who takes over the call describes her as shockingly calm. Flight attendant Bradshaw says that the hijackers are in the first-class cabin and the cockpit and have announced that they have a bomb. She says they have knives and have killed a flight attendant believed to be flight attendant Debbie Welsh. At 9:37 a.m. in seat 25E, passenger Mark Bingham calls his mom, who was a former United Airlines flight attendant, to tell her that his flight has been hijacked and the three hijackers, cabin, and the cockpit.
Let me tell you what's going on right now over here. As you can see, I'm over here staring. Jeremy Grant needed 25 points. And I don't know what's going on. But they pulled them with 6 minutes left and they was only down 10 points. Okay, he at the table now. He finna check in. Okay. I was like, that doesn't
and have
sound
announced
right.
that they have a...
I was like, hold on, Chauncey must be in the game. Chauncey must have got out. Hold on, B. Something going on. They just pulled Jeremy Grant.
She says they have knives and have killed a flight attendant believed to be flight attendant Debbie Welsh. At 9:37 a.m. in seat...
Rewind it again. My bad. I was talking.
Ground, Ziad Jarrah turns Flight 93 180 degrees over eastern Ohio towards Washington, D.C. At 9:35 a.m., flight attendant Sandy Bradshaw dials the United Airlines maintenance facility in San Francisco from the airphone in row 33 to report the hijacking. The manager who takes over the call describes her as shockingly calm. Flight attendant Bradshaw says that the hijackers are in the first-class cabin and the cockpit and have announced that they have a bomb. She says they have knives and have killed a flight attendant believed to be flight attendant Debbie Welsh. At 9:37 a.m. in seat 25E, passenger Mark Bingham calls his mom, who was a former United Airlines flight attendant, to tell her that his flight has been hijacked and the three hijackers have a bomb. Another passenger, Jeremy Glick, calls his wife Liz from the airphone in row 27. He speaks to his mother-in-law initially before speaking to his wife in a call which lasts 25 and a half minutes. Glick tells his family that the plane has been hijacked by three Iranian-looking men with dark skin and bandanas. Glick also mentions that one of the men says he has a bomb in a red box and both men are armed with knives. He said that he and the other passengers are contemplating rushing the hijackers. The passengers are huddled in the back of the aircraft, voting on whether to storm the cockpit and retake control of the plane. Both passengers Jeremy Glick and Mark Bingham reported seeing only 3 hijackers with red bandanas armed with knives and a bomb. It is very likely that pilot hijacker Ziad Jarrah remained seated when the muscle hijacker
I think this is the one I was listening to.
9/11.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 40.
Because in my opinion, he's taking the glory away from these people. These people fought against these people, bro. Hold on the homies. I need to hear it because this right here restores humanity.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app with Base 44.
Guys, Nina just built an app.
impossible.
It was on its 6th season. There's a piece on CBS about retro America.
Let's show you what's going on around the country, kids. On this Tuesday, the night of the Latin Grammys, sunny skies down through Texas, all the way from the bottom of
So,
Texas
to be completely honest, the morning of Tuesday, the 11th of September, 2001, started off as an extraordinarily boring one. Fashion Week was underway in New York. The morning's headlines featured stories of one. Fashion was underway in New York. The morning's headlines featured stories about cloning, a lost spy plane, and the lackluster economy. Morning television ran celebrity interviews and feel-good stories. Everybody Loves Raymond was on it. In the name of Allah, most must 911, she remembered thinking. She made the call, and finally, through a series of transfers, she found herself on the end of the line with a confused FBI agent. She relayed what she knew, but before she... At 9:32 by the FAA, who would inform the military at 9:34, despite knowing of Flight 77's disappearance for just over 20 minutes at this point. Up until then, the only contact senior staff at the FAA had with the military was to inform them at 9:23 that Flight 11 was still in the air and headed towards Washington, meaning a second set of fighter pilots were scrambled and then airborne at 9:30, not to deal with Flight 77, but with Flight 11, a plane that no longer existed. Looking at Flight 93's CVR transcript at this time, around 9:30, it's quite clear that the hijackers in the cockpit were becoming increasingly frustrated and frantic too. As they disengaged the autopilot, alarms started blaring, and there were more than 40 instances of one of the hijackers saying things like, "No, sit down, stop, and don't move." It's believed that this is because one of the pilots was still alive and was doing whatever he could to interfere with the hijackers or communicate with control, who could still be heard calling for him over the radio. On top of this, the voice of what is thought to be Flight Attendant Deborah Walsh can be heard in the cockpit. Though it's not exactly clear how she came to be in there, the CVR recording doesn't begin until 3 minutes or so after the cockpit was breached. The most likely scenario is that she was used to get the pilots to open the door. Realising that the crew were no longer useful to them, The words, "In the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate," were heard. Before the words, "Everything is fine," I finished. Deborah, Jason and Leroy were not heard on the recording again. Minutes later, at 9:39, the plane's new pilot, now all too aware of the need to keep the remaining passengers and crew compliant, attempted to make a second announcement over the plane's internal communication system. But of course, this message didn't reach the cabin.
The captain would like to order the remaining details. We are all aboard and are going to back to the airport and to have our demand to remain quiet.
It reached.
And that was just a lie because, as we know, they never had any demands. Listen, if somebody breaking the law, do not expect them to tell you the truth while they're breaking the law. Okay?
Every other plane on the frequency, and John, who responded quickly with,
United 93, understand you have a bomb on board, go ahead.
Now, there was of course no response, but just as everybody was expecting, a few minutes later, at 9:41, Flight 93 turned its transponder off. And John knew this would happen, so he had no problem using alternative tracking methods. At this point, several passengers had open lines of communication, receiving more precise details about the other hijackings. One such call was between 31-year-old sales exec Jeremy Glick and his wife, Lisbeth.
"Please, I need to know something,"
he said.
"One of the other passengers has talked to their spouse. He said they were crashing planes into the World Trade Center. Is that true?"
Staring at the images on the TV in front of her, she hesitated for a moment before replying, "Yes, they are." Meanwhile, at 9:43, over in Illinois at the Airphone Operations Center, Supervisor Lisa Jefferson was called over by one of her staff, who was in tears. The call the employee had told her was about a possible hijacking. With no idea what to expect, Lisa took the call. On the other end was a calm, soft-spoken gentleman. It was 32-year-old Todd Beamer, one of the passengers on Flight 93. Somehow, the phone had routed to the Airphone Operations line. Todd told Lisa what was going on, and then he started talking about his family, his 2 boys, and the one on the way. Lisa didn't tell him about the attacks. She wanted to spare him the grief, but she didn't need to. He and every other passenger on the plane already knew well enough that they weren't hostages who were about to have a crazy story to tell their grandkids. They were
If we getting on the phone and calling these people, and these people just telling us that these people is taking these planes and crashing them into things, and they just told us that they about to take it and land it and they have demands, why are we not revolting? Now though, they do revolt. They do. But why are we not at that point? I just messed up. Sorry, guys.
They are. Meanwhile, at 9:43, over in Illinois at the Airphone Operations Center, Supervisor Lisa Jefferson was called over by one of her staff, who was in tears. The call the employee had told her was about a possible hijacking. With no idea what to expect, Lisa took the call. On the other end was a calm, soft-spoken gentleman. It was 32-year-old Todd Beamer, one of the passengers on Flight 93. Somehow, the phone had routed to the Airphone Operations line. Todd told Lisa what was going on, and then he started talking about his family, his 2 boys, and the one on the way. Lisa didn't tell him about the attacks. She wanted to spare him the grief, but she didn't need to. He and every other passenger on the plane already knew well enough that they weren't hostages who were about to have a crazy story to tell their grandkids. They were collateral damage, trapped inside a guided missile with no way out. That realization should have had most of the passengers paralyzed with fear, too frightened to think straight, let alone form any kind of plan. But it didn't.
Grayson Allen just took Jeremy Grant to the basket, and honestly, I'm dumbfounded.
So at this point, the passengers were very obviously whispering among themselves, exchanging information and making multiple phone calls, and it really wasn't long, perhaps 15 minutes or so after the hijackers took over the plane, before the suggestion to take action was floated. We don't know who exactly suggested the idea, but we do know that it was a group of 5 men who would initially give the plan serious contemplation. Tom Burnett, Mark Bingham, Todd Beamer, Jeremy Glick, and a 5th unknown passenger who many believe to be Lou Nake. What's particularly strange about all of this is that the 2 hijackers responsible for keeping the passengers under control stood there and watched it happen. Of all the questions about Flight 93, like why the hijacking
You see, this the reason you gotta execute, because you don't know if these people know English or not. I could have yelled out, "Yeah, we finna ba ba buddy ba 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 buddy ba ba ba." They don't speak English. They don't speak English. They don't speak English. They don't even know we planning. We gotta plan. We gotta do something. We gotta move. And you know what? That's why I like these people actually. Let me chill. Let me stop. Let me stop being negative towards them. They did what they had to do. And it's the reason why I didn't want to do this, because when it's what do they call it? 2020 or 30, whatever. 2020 vision, or hindsight is 2020 vision. So I didn't want to use hindsight when I was judging these people, and that's why.
waited 46 minutes to enact their attack rather than the half an hour or less we saw on the other planes. This one feels the most glaringly nonsensical. Even if the hijackers didn't anticipate a delay significant enough for passengers to learn of the already successful attacks, yet another oversight given Newark had the highest delay rate out of any airport in the United States. By 9:41, an ACARS message would have reminded the hijackers that this was very public knowledge. So what do they think the passengers were talking about? Of course, you might say that the hijackers were simply relying on fear, a combination of their initial attack, a fake bomb, and an in-cabin announcement to maintain control. But one of those, the in-cabin announcements, hadn't worked. And the other, the threat of explosion, was now being seriously questioned. TSA was lax, but it wasn't that lax. And anyway, why would they blow up a plane? They clearly...
You see, this the reason why you attack any nigga who say he got a bomb on the plane. How did you get a bomb on the plane? These niggas just told me to take my shoes, my backpack, my shirt, my hat, my underwear, both my socks, both my earrings, my belt buckle, not my pants, but my underwear. I think I already said that. My sunglasses, the laptop out of the thing, but inside of its pack, and separated from what it just came out of. I need to put all of my saline bottles in a different thing. How did you get a bomb on them plane? Cap. I call Cap. I would have called Cap. I'm just hindsight's 2020, 100%. I would have called Cap though.
Much bigger plans for. Nobody really has an explanation for this behaviour. It most likely just comes down to some kind of bias hardwired into the human brain that stops us from seeing what's right in front of us when we're under pressure. Who knows? What we do know is that just like many others that day, it seemed that the hijackers lacked imagination with regards to what human beings are capable of. And that error would prove to be catastrophic. From around 9:38, about 10 minutes or so into the hijack, the plane's manoeuvres were becoming increasingly erratic. It was around this point that a plan of attack began to really take shape. If they were going to do this, they'd need the biggest and strongest on the plane, and they'd need to act quickly. And just on that former point, they weren't exactly lacking for choice. There was an astounding amount of athletic prowess on board, and not just hobbyists either. There were martial art champions, wrestlers, weightlifters, and more. Of the 4 men we know were directly involved in the attack, all of them were over 6 feet and 200 pounds.
You see what I'm saying? We got some monsters out here, baby.
Mark Bingham in particular was really not somebody you'd want to go toe-to-toe with anywhere, let alone in an enclosed space, 35,000 feet in the sky. Had this not been the case, I don't think the group would have been quite so swift in their decision-making. But it seems that by 9:40 at least, a plan of attack had been formulated, because Todd, still on the phone with Lisa...
I'm a specimen too, dog. I would have
Listen,
joined in, dude. I really want to go.
I don't think
want
we're
to
going to get out of
go.
this thing.
Dog,
We're going to have to go out with faith.
Lisa, hearing this and trying her hardest to remain composed, said, "Are you sure that's what you want to do, Todd?" To which Todd replied,
It's what we have to do.
Let me listen to the singer, bro.
enclosed space, 35,000 feet in the sky, and had been standout athletes at one point or another.
Mark
Bingham in
Bingham.
particular was really not somebody you'd want to go toe-to-toe with anywhere,
Big
let alone in an
Bing.
enclosed space, 35,000 feet in the
Bingham.
sky. Had this not been the case, I don't think the group would have been quite so swift in their decision-making. But it seems that by 9:40 at least, a plan of attack had been formulated, because Todd, still on the phone with Lisa, told her about it.
Listen, we're going to do something. I don't...
Dog, Mark Bingham, 6'4", 2. What did it say? 2. What was he? Hold on. I don't mean neglect. 6'4", 220, so he's cut. Oh, it's over, really. 220? And that 220, that 220's on him correctly. There's not that janky 220, that iffy 220. It's the right 220.
Athletes at one point or another. Mark Bingham in particular was really not somebody you'd want to go toe-to-toe with anywhere, let alone in an enclosed space, 35,000 feet in the sky. Had this not been the case, I don't think the group would have been quite so swift in their decision-making.
Jeremy Grant
But
had
it
23
seems that by
points.
9:40
I needed
at
him to get
least, a
25.
plan of attack had been formulated.
There's 1 second
because
left. He
Todd,
just fouled
still on the phone with
somebody.
Lisa,
It's crazy,
told
right?
her about it.
Listen, we're going to do something. I don't think we're going to get out of this thing. I'm going to have to go out on faith.
Lisa, hearing this and trying her hardest to remain composed, said, "Are you sure that's what you want to do, Todd?" To which Todd replied,
It's what we have to do.
Shortly after this, at 9:45, Tom made his third call to Dina. She told him about the Pentagon, and he relayed the news to passengers.
Okay, and what else can you tell me?
5 planes have been hijacked. They believe all of them are commercial planes.
Do you know who's involved?
He asked. "No," she answered.
Or what is the probability of them having a bomb on board?
He paused.
I don't think they have one. I think they're just telling us that for crowd control.
Tom then asked Dina if she called the authorities. She told him that she had, but that they didn't know anything about his plane. If Tom and all the other passengers were getting the sense that they were on their own, it's because they were. By this point, a nationwide ground stop of all departures had been ordered, and senior managers all the way up to the FAA's headquarters were well aware of the situation with Flight 93, having successfully located the plane on primary.
Let me show you how cheaty that is. I told you that what's the name got pulled. Like, I think it was like 8 minutes left in the quarter. They were down 6. Jeremy Grant 23 needed him to get 25. Game over. Game over.
Staff at both the FAA's command centre and its headquarters knew they should probably contact the military. I mean, just listen to this call made at 9:49.
Jeff away to go talk about United 93.
Do we want to think about scrambling aircraft?
Oh, God, I don't know.
That's a decision somebody's going to have to make probably in the next 10 minutes.
And I'm sure you know how this is about to go. For reasons that are not entirely clear, the decision was never actually made, and the FAA failed to contact the military. And there was another horrifying reality to deal with too. At some point, somebody had spotted the plane's pilots, Leroy and Jason, who'd presumably been moved outside of the cockpit. With all passengers now aware of the plan to overpower the hijackers, this fact must have been a real sticking point, because if they were successful, who was going to fly the plane? Well, as fate would have it, both a qualified pilot, Donald Green, and a former air traffic controller, Andrew Garcia, just so happened to be among the passengers.
Nice.
While Donald was only licensed to fly a single engine, not a Boeing 757, with a bit of help from ground control, his chances of safely landing the plane were actually pretty decent. This fact likely galvanised any passengers on the fence into action, because there was a chance. A small one, but a chance nonetheless, to actually take back control and safely land the plane. And it's around here that they did something that I think, given the circumstances, is remarkable. This group of complete strangers put aside their anger, their fear, and they put their plan to a vote. I doubt the decision was unanimous, nor do I think that anybody was on the understanding that it was a foolproof plan, not even close. But the decision was nonetheless made. The time to act was now.
Democracy.
Tuesday, 9:47 a.m.
Hi, baby. Baby, you have to listen to me carefully. I'm on a plane that's been hijacked. I'm on the plane. I'm calling from the plane. Want to tell you I love you. Please tell my children that I love them very much. And I'm so sorry, babe. I don't know what to say. There's 3 guys. They've hijacked the plane. I'm trying to be calm. We're turned around, and I've heard that there's planes that's been been flown into the World Trade Center. I hope to be able to see your face again, baby. I love you. Bye.
End of message.
From this point, around 9:45, the evidence showed that there was a flurry of calls made by passengers to their loved ones. At the same time, they worked together to flesh out the specifics. They quietly grabbed anything they could. Flight attendants prepared hot water. The back of the plane was searched for anything useful. Jeremy, still on the phone to his wife Liz, told her about the plan and asked her what she thought. She hesitated, asking a few more questions, but she knew that this was his only choice, so she gave him a blessing.
Well,
he replied,
guess we better go get our butter knives from breakfast then.
Preparing himself for what was to come, Todd asked Lisa to recite the Lord's Prayer, and at 9:54, Tom made his fourth and final call. He and Dina talked a bit about his parents, about their girls, and then, after a long pause, he said,
We're waiting until we're over a rural area. We're going to take back the plane.
Dina protested, but Tom held his ground.
We can't wait for the authorities. I don't know what they could do anyway. It's up to us.
Dina became frantic.
Don't worry, Dina. We're going to do something.
And then he hung up. At 9:57, Lisa, still on the other end of the line, listened as Todd turned to a nearby passenger and said, Are you ready? Okay. Let's roll. While it's true that the system designed to protect passengers had failed that day, it's also true that our kind are stubborn beyond comprehension. And while we are perfectly capable of recognising that the odds are minute, that doesn't stop us from trying anyway. Over the next 6 minutes, the passengers on Flight 93 fought like hell. I can't imagine what it must have felt like, even in their state of desperation, to have carried out such an act. We don't know who led the charge, nor how many passengers were involved. But what we do know, without a shadow of a doubt, is that any hijackers that were outside that cockpit stood very little chance. Inside the cockpit, the words, "Is there something? A fight?" can be made out. Now realising what was happening, the pilot immediately put the plane into a rapid ascent. While this no doubt slowed the group down, by now, nothing could stop them. At 9:58 and 57 seconds, the CVR picked up one of the hijackers saying, "They want to get in there. Hold the door. Hold from the inside. Hold from the inside. Hold." And then, perhaps realising just how many passengers were involved in the revolt, one of the hijackers is heard saying, "There are some guys. All those guys." A few seconds later, an American male voice could be heard screaming, "Let's get them." And then, for 46 seconds, a series of loud noises were recorded before one of the hijackers in the cockpit, now coming to terms with what was about to happen, could be heard saying the words, "There is nothing."
In Washington, who writes the rules? Big corporations that control politics and members of Congress. I am Junaid.
And 865, we have the traffic below.
We're 56865 Cleveland Center. Roger, and I have a question for you. If you can look off your left side almost to your, make it your 9 o'clock, almost your 8 o'clock. We have, I believe it is a Boeing 757. Can you see him up there, sir, and tell me an altitude if that's able?
We've got him.
What altitude does it appear to be he's at?
We're 7, he's probably 75, 8,000.
75,000 feet, sir?
Okay, he's descending. He's getting closer to our altitude. We haven't in sight yet.
We're 56865. I advise you stay away from that aircraft. Go north as fast as you can.
It looks like he's rocking his wings, according to my observer. Keeps rocking back and forth.
Unbelievably, Cleveland Center, still tracking Flight 93, had radioed a nearby private aircraft.
They beat their ass and took that motherfucker, bro. That's what it's about,
in
bro.
horror as this huge 757 rocked its wings back and forth. As we now know, he was witnessing a last-ditch attempt by the hijackers to throw the passengers off and keep them out of the cockpit. And it failed. At 10:01, just outside of the cockpit door, a male voice could clearly be heard shouting, "Roll it," presumably referring to a trolley being used as a battering ram. Just under half a minute later, there was an agreement between the hijackers. It was over. There's nothing more to be done. Their plan had failed. The plane was pitched down to a 45-degree angle. Outside, the passengers continued to break into the cockpit, and it seems that at 10:01, they were successful. But it was just too late.
It don't matter. Listen. It don't matter if it was too late. Because it's never too late to fight for yourself. It's never too late to fight for yourself. Somebody might be standing in front of you with a knife, a bomb, whatever, bro. It's never too late to fight for yourself. Even if you're going to die, it's never too late to fight for yourself. I hope y'all fighting for yourselves, man. I really hope y'all fighting for yourselves, bro. Because every day, I fight for myself. Probably not to the extent of these brave people, but every day it's a fight. Keep on fighting.